If you're looking to destroy a player without having to PvP them, this is exactly how. Trapping is by far the best way to take out your opponent, so here's how you can design and build some of the greatest. We need a few ways to get the player in the trap mechanism itself. For portal-based traps, it could be as simple as having a trap on the other side, but for a regular trap, it's going to require a bit more effort. Most non-portal traps are going to be in the ground, so to get the player into the trap, we have to break the floor beneath them. The first way to do this is using blocks affected by gravity. We can create a chain of signs supporting sand, gravel, or concrete, and when we break one, the whole structure falls. As another option, lanterns can be used below a gravity block, and when one or the other is broken, the trap gets set off. Next, we have scaffolding, and this is the best way if you're inside a building. If we break the bottom piece of scaffolding, the connected pieces will be destroyed, which in a trap could be the floor. You just have to hide it under some carpets and you're good to go. The final trick is to create floating gravity blocks, which is done like this. We pull back the piston and it leaves the sand floating. All it takes for it to fall is some sort of block update, which can be done using a pressure plate, a piece of string, or adjacent block updates. If you choose to do this, try to set up the trap before making the floating block, since any update will make it fall. The second way to make our player fall is just to blow up the ground. This should either be done using an end crystal or TNT minecart, since normal TNT has a delay. An end crystal can be blown up with redstone using an arrow inside a dispenser, and TNT minecarts will explode instantly once they begin to move and collide with each other. Explosives are much less controlled than blocks affected by gravity, so you'll want a bigger trapping area underneath. The third way to get the player into the trap is using pistons. Here are 3 simple designs. Sometimes it's in your best interest to activate a trap automatically. The first and easiest way to do this is to detect a player action. Trapped chests, pressure plates, levers, doors are all candidates. This action could literally trigger the redstone for the trap, or it could be detected using an observer, one of the most powerful blocks in trapping. If you, however, think the player will act more carefully, there are ways to detect and activate a trap with simply their presence. Walking over a piece of redstone ore will make it light up, which we can detect using an observer. Pufferfish will expand when an entity is nearby, which we can detect using this machine. I think it goes without saying, but sculpt sensors in 1.19 will be the best way to set off a machine automatically. With any of these automatic systems, you might not be at the trap when it's activated, so as a solution, you could set up an ender pearl stasis to teleport to the trap when it's triggered. With the automatic methods, the trap could be set off by a mob or another entity, so be aware of that risk. For a lot of traps, you might want to get your player into a 1x1 hole before dealing the real damage, and this can be accomplished using a simple push trap. Here's a simple design, and here's how they can be chained together. Ender pearls are an easy way to escape many traps, so to counter them, we can place open fence gates. When a player tries to right-click, they could end up closing the fence gate instead of throwing an ender pearl. Fence gates also can't be waterlogged and prevent block placing, so in a fall trap, they're one of the best ways to guarantee the player reaches the bottom. The final trick to making sure your player lands in the trap and stays there is to use armor stands. By standing inside an armor stand, you're unable to break or place blocks, eat, throw ender pearls, or really any other clicking action except for breaking the stands. Since they can be broken, it's not a bad idea to dispense more on top of the player once they're in the trap. With these techniques in hand, it's time for the damaging mechanism. These are the 5 best ways. The first, also the simplest and cheapest, is to use fall damage. Here are the numbers. It takes 24 blocks to take out a player without protection or feather falling, 12 blocks to take out the same player falling onto pointed dripstone, and 54 blocks to take out a player with full protection 4 and feather falling 4. This, however, won't be enough for a player with a totem in hand. Method 2 is to use falling dripstone, or if you'd like to spend the iron anvils. They both deal the same amount of damage, so I'll just be saying dripstone here. Falling dripstone will deal the max amount of damage, 20 hearts, if it falls for 42 blocks or more. That is 3.5 hearts for full prot for netherite. You might want to place the dripstone manually at the top of the trap, but you could also do it automatically using a trapdoor or a piston. Chaining falling dripstone with pointed dripstone at the bottom of a fall trap can lead to this devastating outcome. The third method to take out your opponent is using entity cramming. 24 or more minecarts inside of the same block will damage any other entity inside the hitbox. This alone won't work as a very strong trap since they can be broken relatively easily, but if we include armor stands, the trap becomes lethal. This design is based off of Ray's Works Prison, basically just adding the minecart element into the mix. The armor stands prevent the player from escaping. The fourth way to take out our player is of course using explosives, end crystals, TNT minecarts, regular TNT, beds, or respawn anchors. Since we're blowing up things, these traps require a solid trapping area, hopefully made out of obsidian. The major risk is launching the player out of the trap or dying ourselves, so using obsidian solves many of these problems. These traps are especially powerful on the other side of portals where the player spawns by default on top of obsidian. In the end, the 3 blocks above the obsidian platform are removed when someone goes through, so be careful with that or use it to your advantage. The main benefit to using explosives over other methods is their sheer speed. The final way to take out your opponent reliably is to use the void. In the overworld and the nether, bedrock can be broken fairly easily, and in the end, it's just there. Armor, totems, and healing items all fall short to void damage, and there's only really 2 real counters: ender pearls and elytra. You could escape the void or really any of these traps by using an ender pearl stasis, but this could be countered by having the trap in the nether. The solution to the player having elytra would be to have a redstone mechanism which closes the hole in the void once the player has fallen. If you push ancient debris in front of the hole, there's practically no hope to return.